All right. We're going to do an audio podcast, except it's on video for you, person watching this video. Here we go.
Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Tech News Show. If you would like to listen live, press 1 now. If you would like to watch live, press 2 now. If you would like to download later, press 3 now. If you would like to support, go to bit.ly/helpdtns.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, January 29th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Myke Hurley, co-founder of Relay.fm. You may remember him from the 70 decibels days as well. Mike's been kicking around for a long time. A really smart guy. He's got a great network going on at Relay FM if you haven't checked it out. And I'm really happy to have you back on the show, Myke.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Thank you so much for having me.
We've got an interesting topic. Mike wanted to talk about the future of tablets in light of the only bad news out of the Apple earnings report earlier this week. So we're going to talk about that in our main discussion section. We've also got some Apple-Samsung fight news in the headlines, Mike.
I always love a fight.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Do you love a good fight? Because we got one for you. All right, let's take a look at those headlines. Ars Technica reports Microsoft has taken Office for Android tablets out of preview today. You can get the real thing. Android users can now download Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for free from the Google Play Store, as long as you have an ARM-based Android tablet that's between 7 and 10.1 inches and runs Android 4.4. You also need a gig or more of RAM in there, or well, that's most of the tablets, but if you're on like one of the original Nexus 7s, it might not work for you. Subscription to Office 365 is necessary for some of the features, but essentially it's the same feature set for free that you would get from the web-based versions of Office. Microsoft also released Outlook for iOS and a preview version of Outlook for Android. So you get out of one preview version and into another. Outlook works with Exchange, Gmail, Yahoo, and of course Microsoft's Outlook webmail service. Mike, I read one article today saying that Outlook is a better Gmail client than the Gmail client. I haven't put it through its paces yet, but it is really nice looking.
So this Outlook app was an acquisition that Microsoft made recently of a company called Acompli. And they were kind of looking at a way to combine email and calendar. And a lot of the people that I have seen on Twitter today, the kind of opinions that I trust, have said they're switching to the Outlook app, which is a real surprise. And I looked at it myself, and I'm a Mailbox user, love Mailbox. And I was looking at the Outlook app today and thought if they had a good desktop client, which kind of matched this one, which I guess will be next, I might look at it quite seriously.
Yeah, I actually continue to use the default Mail app on iOS simply because I don't like not having the default Mail client be different than the one I use all the time. And you can't change the default Mail client. So I'm sure you've run into this where you're using Mailbox, but then every once in a while you click a link and it opens up Mail app, and you have to be like, no, that's not what I want, right?
Yeah, and it is frustrating. One of the good things that I have is I use Google Chrome on my iPhone. And Mailbox and Google Chrome talk quite nicely together. You
That's
can kind
cool.
of jump in between apps.
And so that brings up an interesting point, right? So if you switch to Outlook on iOS, your Google product would be talking to a Microsoft product. And what I was about to say was I might switch to Outlook on my Android tablet, hilariously, away from the official Google Gmail app, simply because this is so nice. And on Android, I can do that. I can say, yes, make this my default email app for everything.
I still can't believe that in 2015 we're locked in like that. Like it is one of those things where that feels like such a simple one to do, but Apple just refused to do it. And I know we're going to talk about this a little later on, but I feel like if you want people to use these products seriously for serious stuff, let them choose their default programs.
Wall Street Journal reports that Microsoft is also part of a $70 million round of funding for Cyanogen, the company that makes its own version of Android for phones. The Verge notes that Cyanogen CEO has said his company is on a mission to take Android away from Google. I'm guessing Microsoft doesn't have a problem with that intention. They wouldn't mind if Cyanogen took Android away from Google, but it is interesting that Microsoft really is intentionally not pursuing the Microsoft-only version of things anymore.
Microsoft make money from Android, don't they? I believe they have enough.
Yes, they have a patent licensing system, but I don't know if they make money from cyanogen. That's an interesting question. I don't know if it's just the Google implementations of Android with the Google Play Store and all of that where they have to get money. So HTC, for instance, famously was one of the first to agree to pay a Microsoft license for Android. It's a good question.
I'd love to know their thinking behind why they've gone into, like, why they're backing cyanogen. That's a really interesting move to make.
Facebook's wants to be a little Yelpier, or if you prefer, Foursquare-ish or Swarmish. Anyway, CNET reports Facebook has announced a new feature called Place Tips that gives location-based info. For example, if you are standing outside of a restaurant wondering whether to eat there, Place Tips would show you the menu on the restaurant's Facebook page and food photos from your friends if they've eaten there, so you can kind of get a look at the food. The feature will only appear if you give Facebook permission to access your location, and your location will not be shared publicly. It's just used for Place Tips. Facebook will start testing Place Tips in the New York City area, which is where the most people stand outside of restaurants the most, probably. Reuters reports a spokesman for the U.S. Trade Representative said on Thursday the U.S. has consistently pressed China about the impact of new regulations on IT firms. U.S. tech lobbyists called for urgent discussions on Wednesday with China over new regulations that require certain things to be given to the Chinese government, including source code, possible access to systems if they want to do business with the state-backed institutions, including banks. The Verge reports the U.S. FCC raised a record $44.9 billion from the auction of AWS-3 spectrum in the 1700 megahertz and 2100 megahertz blocks. The spectrum is valuable, but the high frequency means it's used mostly to bolster capacity of existing networks. Next up, and more interesting, is the 600 megahertz auction. That's former TV spectrum, which can cover large areas because it's low frequency. So I would expect another record breaker there.
The DV signal stuff here enabled us to get 4G LTE. Until they got rid of the analog TV signal, we couldn't get 4G. So it opens up a lot of doors.
Maybe this will get us 5G. Who knows? Broadband is now faster in the United States thanks to the FCC by definition. In fact, only by definition. Nothing actually changed. The Verge reports the commission voted 3-2 to change the definition of broadband in the United States. It used to be 4 megabits per second down and 1 megabit per second up. Now the new definition is 25 megabits per second down and 3 megabits per second up. The change means that 13.1% of U.S. households are now defined as not having access to broadband. Under that old definition, it was only 6.3%. Most DSL service is now also no longer considered broadband in the U.S. under this new definition. Samsung released their earnings, which AP reports were down 27% in Q4. Company reported shipping 95 million handsets and that high-end phones were in the high 70% range of that number. So we don't know exactly how many smartphones they shipped. Samsung's lack of precision means that you can't say for sure if Apple, which did report 74.5 million iPhones sold in the same quarter, has passed Samsung or not. So to the analysts we go. The Verge reports Counterpoint Research pegs Samsung shipments at 73.8 million, giving the edge to Apple. Creative Strategies also says Apple's ahead now. Strategy Analytics calls it a tie. However, PC Magazine notes IDC puts Samsung ahead with 75.1 million units. No matter how you slice the numbers, though, Apple is at par or moving ahead of Samsung, and Huawei, Xiaomi, and Lenovo are all taking a bite out of Samsung right now as well. I think we all saw this coming over the past year or so. What, if anything, do you think Samsung can do to combat this trend? They're getting eaten from both sides, it seems like.
I don't know what they can do, because everything you think a company could do, Samsung do it. You know, they put a ton of money into marketing. They iterate every year. They add more features. But I don't know, maybe the features that they're adding need to be more relevant. Like a lot of their stuff, it kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you think that advertising would be a key part in that, I think maybe people are just not interested in Samsung products anymore. I don't know what it could be. But it's definitely an issue.
If you back it out, Samsung and Android in general were making big strides against the iPhone for a long time. And then this past quarter, Apple with the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus got back a lot of share. And that implies that screen size was one of the big differentiators. Now, the fact that Samsung is now not dominating as much and is getting eaten from behind implies that the big, fancy, expensive features were not why people were buying Android handsets. So I don't know which way that points. Either Samsung has to double down on the luxury side of things and really try to take things back from Apple, or they have to get better at those more affordable entry-level handsets, one or the other.
I do wonder, like with some of these things, if it shifts back when people's contracts end. You know, maybe they're unhappy with their Samsung phones, and then they shift back to iPhones. I have, it's only colloquial, but I have a few friends of mine that have done that. They wanted a bigger screen, and then they ended up within 6 months hating their Android phone or their HTC phone and wanted to go back to the iPhone.
And I've seen it work the other way as well, where people leave Android or even another operating system like BlackBerry, go to the iPhone, don't like it. And this happened to my wife, and she went back to Android. That was before my wife even worked for Google. So I think you've nailed something here, which is this market doesn't stay linear, right? People only change their phones every couple of years on average, maybe. And so the waves kind of do disrupt the sort of linear progress of the features on the phones, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is interesting to see Samsung losing on the other end to the other Android manufacturers, though. I mean, maybe that says something about Samsung and not Android.
Mm-hmm. Well, if long airplane flights don't make you motion sick, try this. The Next Web reports that Samsung and Qantas Airlines have teamed up to make Gear VR available in first class on select A380 flights to LA and also inside the first class lounges in Sydney and Melbourne. A Qantas app on the Note 4 will be used to show you 360-degree views of the first-class lounge of LAX, so you can pretend you've already landed there, videos of A380 planes taking off and landing, and video of a boat ride down a river so you can get seasick, too. If these aren't enough to last you to Los Angeles, you can also watch movies on the Gear VR. The trial will last for 3 months. It will appear first in the lounges in mid-February and then on flights in mid-March. I'm never going to see this because I'm not going to fly first class from either Sydney or Melbourne to LA. But if you were, Myke, would you take advantage of this? Would you want one?
I think that sounds pretty cool because instead of looking in the back of the headrest, you've kind of got this huge screen in front of your face, right? Like I guess it's kind of like a cinema, I think is a lot of how these things are pitched. I've used an Oculus once, and it's very impressive. I think for sitting and watching a movie, that could be a pretty nice way to do it.
It's kind of brilliant, right? I mean, I'm joking about the motion sickness, obviously, which is no joke from people who are motion sick, but the idea of like not having to be in the plane anymore, just surrounding yourself. I mean, the Gear VR isn't exactly the Oculus, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah. All right, couple earnings reports to touch on real quickly. Amazon announced Q4 earnings. Takeaway is the company stopped losing money for the first time in a couple of quarters, which means the Fire Phone effect is easing. They reported $29.33 billion in revenue, $214 million in net profit, representing 45 cents per share. Analysts only expected 17 cents per share and $29.67 billion in revenue. So they kind of missed a touch on the revenue, but they did okay on the earnings per share. TechCrunch reports Google's Q3 earnings were mixed as well. Google had gross revenue of $18.1 billion and what's called non-GAAP earnings per share of $6.88. The important part there, if you're not a financial analyst, is analysts wanted $7.13 per share, so they missed that expectation. Revenue grew slower than 20% year over year. That's the first time it's grown that slowly in 5 years, though it did grow. Average cost per click was down 8% year over year as well, but aggregate total of paid clicks rose 14%. So they're getting more clicks. They're not making as much money off of them. Expenses also went up. So basically, I don't know. To me, this just looks like Google's a grown-up company now. Like they're not just skyrocketing off of search revenue like they were for the first 10 years of their existence. Time now for some news from you. These come from our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. With thanks everybody, especially the moderators, who keep that operation running. It's one of the best places to get an interesting perspective on the tech news of the day that you can find on the internet. So go in there and do some voting, if nothing else. You can even submit some stories yourself. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. SP Sheridan sent us the Business Insider report that Nickelodeon has announced it will soon be offering a standalone streaming service, with more details to come at its advertising upfront in February. Viacom CEO Philip Dowman told CNET the service will focus on mobile and possibly operate under a different name, not Nickelodeon. But this is another network following CBS, which already launched one, following HBO, which is about to launch one, going direct to the consumer in the U.S. market, which is a big deal. They've been resisting that for a long time. Star Fury Zeta posted the Engadget article that Dropbox has published its first transparency report regarding data requests from governments other than the United States, which it has previously reported U.S. only. From the period July through December, Dropbox received 5 requests from France, 5 from Germany, 2 from Italy, 2 from the UK, and 1 request each from 6 other countries. In the U.S., Dropbox reports 137 search warrants, 116 subpoenas, 2 court orders, and the useless national security request number, which is a range of 0 to 249. Dropbox claims to have more than 200 million users. So does this set your mind at ease at all, Mike, to know there were only 2 requests out of the millions of people in the UK using Dropbox?
No, because, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the US was requesting about me. Like, I don't think it matters where you live anymore.
But even then, you're talking like hundreds of requests in the U.S. out of 200 million users. So the likelihood of them wanting something from you is small, which is, I'm not saying that I'm okay with the surveillance state the way it exists, but it's good to have these numbers. And I wish we had a real national security request number as well.
I think my concern, though, with that stuff is these are just the reported numbers when it shows that governments actually don't care about going to the companies anymore. They try and find backdoors instead.
Yeah. That's the real concern. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Finally, Trivially Travis notes the Nintendo Post opening the Nintendo Creators Program on YouTube. To catch you up, Nintendo claims all game footage of Nintendo games on YouTube and then takes the ad revenue from those streams. They don't make you take them down. They just say any ads played on those videos, money goes to Nintendo. People cried foul saying, hey man, I do a gameplay channel. That's how I make my money. So this new program lets you get a cut of the money they take from your YouTube videos. It's kind of a Rube Goldberg-like situation. So you play the video, Nintendo seizes it, gets the money, sends to their account. Then the program will send you money through PayPal, and you'll get a 70% share of the revenue they make off your channel. Or if you choose to only do individual videos, you'll get a 60% share of videos registered individually.
Lots of people are upset about this because the terms are just so convoluted.
Well, exactly. I get what Nintendo's trying to do here. They're trying to be fair. They're trying to say, hey, that's our property. We don't want to relinquish our claim on it. But there should be some kind of fair use exemption on this somehow.
Like one line in the contract literally says that revenue share percentage can change arbitrarily.
Oh, yeah, at any time. Of course they're going to do that. Yeah. Because some financial officer said, well, what if the market changes and we need to increase this percentage? We don't want to be locked into it. And that's a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about tablets. So just to catch people up, if you didn't notice, we talked about this earlier this week. Apple's latest earnings report, which was stellar. They made record amounts of money. I think they made the most money of any company ever. One report said they had record sales of iPhones. Had one dark spot here. You don't want to count iPod sales anymore. That's not a dark spot. We all expect those sales to be low. But iPad sales were 21.4 million, $8.9 billion of revenue. That's still 12% of the overall revenue Apple makes, but it's down from 26 million in 2014, and it's the first time it's gone down. In 2014, it was 18. In 2014, 26 million were sold, and in it's down from 26 million in the final quarter, in the first quarter of 2014. This is the first quarter of 2015 with the 21.4 million. So Tim Cook says, I'm bullish. I'm not projecting something very different next quarter or the next. I'm thinking in the long term. Myke, he's basically saying don't give up on iPad, but don't expect it to turn around anytime soon.
Yeah, one of the other interesting statistics, and I think Apple tried to spin this as a positive, that 50% of iPad buyers in that quarter are first-time buyers, and 70% in China. But whilst that sounds like a good statistic, it's like, great, more people on the iPad. What it shows is that only 50%, so 10 million bought a new one. So that is a slow. That what they're saying is that they're not selling a lot of iPads to previous iPad owners. And Tim Cook was kind of pressed on this, and he basically said that he thinks that the upgrade cycle is somewhere between a phone and a PC. But clearly, what Apple need to do is to find ways to entice people to upgrade, because what it looks like at the moment is maybe they're not so much.
Well, and that's what's interesting. I mean, the tablet market has been maturing. The numbers that I was having a struggle with there just a second ago was that the sales fell 18% in 2014. They had fallen 13% in Q3 and 16% in Q2. So it's a downward trend. You may say like, oh, well, the tablet market is just bottomed out. That's just the way it is. Gartner points out that Android has started making more of the market, up 61.9%. Samsung reported that tablet shipments increased year over year, or quarter over quarter, sorry, with Tab 4 sales growth in their earnings report that came out yesterday. So not everybody is reporting the tablet downturn that Apple is. In fact, Microsoft, of all people, reported in their earnings earlier this week that the Microsoft Surface tablets were up 24% in the quarter, eclipsing $1 billion in revenue for the first time. Tablets in general did fall, though. So maybe Microsoft is an anomaly. Maybe Samsung's even an anomaly. They fell 9.2% year over year in Q4 2014, according to Context Research. In 2013, they had risen 40%. Gartner, on the other hand, predicts 8% growth in 2015. So we're seeing a sine wave, Myke. It's going down. Gartner says it's going to come back up. I don't know that I agree with Tim Cook that this is somewhere between a PC and a phone. I think it might be at the same point as a PC, which is a 5-year turnaround for most people, if not more.
I agree, and I think it sits in price. I mean, a good iPad is the price of a good PC. Like they're $500 a pop, and for a family, like you can't replace the 3 iPads in your home every year. Like it's not going to happen. And the reason that phones are at a similar value, you can buy an iPhone unlocked for $600, but it's because they're subsidized. So I don't know. I know that a lot of networks do subsidize phones across the world, subsidize tablets across the world. Like, you can get an iPad with a data plan. But I don't think that is a driver for a lot of people, because I don't think the need is as great. Everybody needs a phone, a smartphone, but I don't know if everybody needs a tablet. And I think for a lot of people, like for me, I'm a 6 Plus owner. I don't use my iPad anymore. I used to use my iPad every day. But the 6 Plus just starts to bump up against the size of my iPad mini, and for like 90% of the things I do on it, like the only thing I ever use my iPad mini for now is to watch video. But then I'm like sort of tossing up between my laptop and my iPad mini, so I go for the MacBook. So I think for a lot of people that the usage isn't there. I mean, I have friends. One of my co-hosts on a show I do called Connected, Federico Vitici, he completely uses an iPad for everything. He doesn't use a Mac at all, and he runs a popular blog. He runs Mac Stories, and he runs it from his iPad. So there are people, but I think they're the outliers, and I don't think a lot of people are replacing their desktops with iPads, and where they are, they're then becoming like the desktop or like the laptop, and they'll be replaced every 4 or 5 years. Like we're 5 years into the iPad now, and I've been looking at this, and there isn't really a lot of difference between the original and the current iPad. They are better in every way, but no real difference maker has occurred. And I think that's why a lot of people are talking about a big iPad or a stylus now, and they in theory could shift the needle for Apple a bit, because it's an additional reason to own an iPad for some.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at this question. One is, what should Apple do to tweak sales? And like you say, the answer there is to come up with something that's different. And maybe a 12.1-inch Apple iPad with a stylus is going to goose those sales, right? And that may be the right thing for Apple to do. I don't think that actually changes the outlook for tablets in general, though, because we have 12-inch tablets. In fact, I think Microsoft Surface is doing so well for Microsoft right now because they're filling the need of the people who are like, yeah, I want a tablet and I want to use it exclusively. And so the Surface does that. It says, hey, we'll give you a really pretty good keyboard here, but it's still tablet-y. It's not like carrying a laptop around. You don't have the keyboard attached to it all the time. And so I think it would be smart for Apple to move something towards those people that it makes it easier for them, whether it's a stylus or some kind of new innovation on the keyboard side of things. But I don't think that changes what we're learning about the tablets here. And to me, it's all true. What you said about, you know what, I've got a 6 Plus, I don't really use my tablet all that much is happening to a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And I think the tablet isn't going to die, but I think it slots into a smaller niche than it did when it was first popularized by Apple.
Yeah, like when Steve originally announced the iPad, he said, we envision it being between the iPhone and the laptop. We've created a device that sits in between them. But I actually think that space is very narrow, and it's narrower than I think we first anticipated when the iPad came onto the scene. Because for a lot of people, over time, they've realized that they were kind of using their iPad for the sake of using their iPad, when it turns out that the either end of those devices ended up being the right thing for them. Like, I know so many of my friends that have bought one and then they stop using it, and then they get a new one because it's new, and then they stop using it again. And so I think for some people it really fits in their lives, and those people are all in, or you kind of are not bothered. And I don't know if there's a lot of space in the middle.
Yeah, I almost imagining this as a ascent of man sort of a diagram where you basically have touchscreens with keyboards, and not touchscreens with keyboards all the way up to the desktop. And it's all about what your use cases are. Some people, like yourself, can say, you know what, my touchscreen only needs to be 6 inches or so, and that's it. Then I could just use my laptop for everything else. Other people say, no, that's too big. I don't want to carry that, so I'm going to carry a smaller screen phone, which might open up a need for a tablet around the house. I mean, that's what I used an iPad for when I first got it, was, I don't have to sit there and squint at my phone when I'm like surfing while I'm watching TV anymore. I can have the iPad. It gives me a nice bigger screen. Now, I use the iPad to run the soundboard here, and I use my Nexus 9 tablet most of the time for like just, lying in bed and reading ebooks or checking feeds in the morning or something like that, where I don't want to have the whole big bulky laptop. But the tablet usage profile has narrowed considerably for me, and I think it has for a lot of people.
Why do you favor the Nexus 9 over the iPad for your kind of daily stuff?
It just maybe because I haven't bought an iPad since the 3rd generation, because I haven't really seen the need. But I like the customization that I can do. I like some of the control. I like the ability to just install something right from whatever screen I'm on if I'm logged into Google, which you can do an approximation of that. But mostly, if you replaced it and said, here, you have to use an iPad instead, I wouldn't cry tears. It's just a matter of like, that's what I got that's newer. And there's a few things that I like about it.
It's probably lighter and thinner. And
it's a little bit lighter and thinner. But then if I got the brand new iPad Air, that's light and thin too. So, so I kind of think you're right. I think it's form factor maturity / lack of innovation. In other words, each tablet that comes out is not that much different than the tablet before. The upgrade cycle is longer for tablets than they are for phones, and phones have gotten big enough, we can call them phablets or whatever, that sometimes you don't even need a tablet anymore, depending on your use case.
I think it's one of the other things I think that Apple has lost is the story of the iPad. I don't know if they are giving enough of a reason to own one anymore, and previously they'd done that with like GarageBand and iWork and stuff like that. They gave you reasons, but now I think they rely too heavily on third parties, and they're not maybe giving enough of their own reason.
You can make that argument about MacBooks as well for a period of time, but then they sort of regain the story. So maybe that's the thing that they need to do, is figure out, like, okay, what are the new things we can show you do with an iPad to get people interested in using them for something again.
I think they gained it back with the Air and what the Air did and the revolution that it made for thinner, lighter, faster, more powerful laptops. And now it's permeated across the whole line.
Yeah,
I think they need that again, but that's up to Apple to work out.
All right, let's finish up with a few messages. Our pick of the day comes from Rich in lovely Cleveland. It's an essay called Xerox, 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 Xerox by John Brooks, originally published in The New Yorker. More notably in his collection of essays, Business Adventures, if you want to check it out there. It's a fascinating business profile of the company in the late 60s, company being Xerox, showing the company coming off the height of its powers, still a technological giant, and as kind of the counterpoint to IBM and tech corporate culture at the time. It still feels really fresh today, Rich says, in an odd way. Xerox was dealing with IP issues that parallel what we're seeing today with online piracy. I originally came across it after reading that it's one of Bill Gates' favorite books, and I could see why. Xerox was PowerPoint before PowerPoint. There's a free copy at gatesnotes.com if you want to take a look at it, and we'll have that link in the show notes as well. But yeah, all of these problems that we were just talking about, maybe not specific to tablets, but all of the general types of problems have been dealt with by other companies before. Thanks for the pick, Rich. Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Couple of quick emails here. Matt wanted to let us know that fiber coming to Nashville is great for a couple of industries there. Everybody thinks of entertainment. Nashville's an entertainment city with lots of recording and performing. Fiber would allow for lots of opportunities in the music industry. But he wants to point out that Nashville is home to the HCA, the largest owner of for-profit hospitals in the world. And so the city is also home to all kinds of peripheral healthcare industries around it. This healthcare can benefit greatly from fiber internet for medical records, communications between doctors and patients, and other communications-based technology. Also got a couple of responses to Robert Heron's appearance yesterday talking about televisions. Matt wrote in praising slickdeals.net as a good place if you're looking for bargains, and singing the praises of David Katzmeyer and the team of CNET for their TV coverage. I can second that. Katz and his guys, his team, have been doing great TV coverage at CNET for years and years. Matt says in particular regarding what Heron said yesterday about the Vizio P series 4K TVs, Matt wrote, CNET mentioned the same issue that Robert mentioned yesterday regarding choppy 4K playback on the P series, but they recently updated their review after a firmware update enabled a fix. This is supposed to have made a big improvement in the picture quality for 4K content. It'd be worth checking out the updated review before passing judgment on the P series. So thanks for that tip, Matt. And also, Allison Sheridan pointed out that Rod Simmons of the SMR podcast says his strategy on buying TVs is to wait until after the Super Bowl, when you can get amazing deals on open box items from people who buy TVs for the big game and then return it after it's over. He's done it twice and gotten great deals. So that's an excellent tip. Maybe you want to buy a TV on like Tuesday this week. Is there any equivalent like that? Like after the World Cup, where you could go and get like great open box deals in the UK?
Do you know what? You probably can. Around that sort of time, lots of retailers mark down prices of TVs, to try and get you in the door, and you probably could do that. One of the craziest things is this year there was stampedes on Black Friday, where I would like to thank all of America for making that happen for us. We had stampedes in the UK.
You should have never let our consumer culture back into your borders. That's just what's going to happen. Congratulations, though. You're doing it right. If you don't have stampedes on Black Friday, it doesn't work. And finally, Officer Kyle from Jacksonville wrote us earlier this week. I've been meaning to get to this email all week. He's a police officer and says, I do not agree at all with the sheriffs who said Waze is a cop stalker tool. Every time I've seen Waze notify someone of police, it's because the officers are either enforcing traffic, writing up a crash, or some other highly visible action on the side of the road. In these situations, we know that we are visible, and we are always aware that there is some chance of danger if someone wanted to harm us. If there was some homicidal madman, they wouldn't need Waze to tell them where an officer is. Part of our job is that we always have to know in the back of our mind that at any moment a dangerous situation can occur, and I don't feel that Waze would be putting any officer in danger. This would be different if an app was specifically trying to point out where we are at all times, like eating or talking or taking a break. But like I said earlier, the app typically is pointing out times when we are highly visible anyways. Thank you, Officer Kyle, for sending that in. I appreciate that perspective on things.
That's really cool.
And the other thing I think this made me think of is, yes, people are putting these officer reports on Waze to avoid speed traps. That I'm not going to deny that. But a side effect, a good side effect, is that an officer who is on the side of the road is at risk of being hit as well. And knowing that an officer is going to come up is going to make a driver more aware of that and less likely to accidentally swerve to the right or something like that. So there's a safety upside to that as well, even if that's not why most people are doing it.
The intention of a speed trap is to slow people down, so it's still doing it.
Exactly. That's a really good point. All right. Thank you, Myke Hurley. Pleasure as always. Go check out his shows at relay.fm. That's RELAY.fm. And you should follow him on Twitter if you don't already. Twitter.com/imyke. That's IMYKE. Anything in particular going on at Relay you want to let folks know about?
We just launched a new show called Rocket, which is an all-girl tech and geek culture show with Christina Warren, Brianna Wu, and Simone de Rochefort. It's a great cast. We're going to be putting their third episode out in a couple of days' time. It's been a really good show so far. And if you enjoyed our tablet talk today, you should check out episode 24 of Connected, where we did a kind of a look back at the original iPad introduction with some clips from Steve Jobs thrown in for the mix. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Go check those out, relay.fm. Thank you to all of our patrons, 4,791 of them out there who are helping to support the show. We just added a new level of rewards. If you help us out with $10 a month or more, you get to call yourself a co-executive producer officially. We'll back you up on that claim, and we'll send you a business card template so that you can prove it to people if you want. So a few people. What's that?
They can put it on their resume.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if we can like legally give you a recommendation or anything, but we'll say, yeah, no, he's backing us. He gets to do that. She gets to call herself a co-executive producer. Definitely. We'll sign off on that. So if you'd like to back us on Patreon, we're trying to get to a next goal of adding Veronica Belmont and Scott Johnson as contributors. It's patreon.com/acedetect. Or just remember dailytechnewsshow.com/support. That's the link that'll get you to all the ways to support this show. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our website. DailyTechNewsShow.reddit.com is where you can vote on stories. Email us feedback at DailyTechNewsShow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. Listen to the show live, AlphaGeekRadio.com, Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And our website is DailyTechNewsShow.com. Back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom. Great show, Myke. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, mate. It's we're all doing exciting things, and I love being on the show.
Oh, good. I love having you. It's really fun.
Come back. I can come back whenever you want.
Oh,
Please
good.
My days are
right word.
Jenny is writing you an email right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for me to find the time now. So
It's sort of like inviting a vampire in. So you just did.
yeah. Congratulations.
Ooh,
right,
so we have. Oh, if you're gonna take off. Thanks for being on.
But thanks. I hope to speak to you soon.
All right, take care, man.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
So, Sam sunk.
Let
iPadding the numbers.
me look. Hold on. They're
Tinvec's
also
on fire over here.
grumpy. Please face tip your waiters.
Outlook is good. That's another
yeah.
Tinvec one. Wow.
Yeah.
DSL now DOA.
YouTube does with Nintendo don't. Oh, Nintendo drinks your milkshake.
Yes. Beauty is only surface deep.
See.
Got 99 problems and a tablet ain't one. Nice.
FCC broadens the bans.
Mm.
I like that one. Face tips. I really like face tips. I mean, Samsung has the most votes. Well,
iPadding the numbers is tied with it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I just kind of feel like, here's my thought, is we're going to want Samsung at a different point in our life, maybe.
Okay.
That's
You're
my theory.
you're predicting Samsung's eventual demise. Got it?
No, I think I'm thinking, like, what if there's some huge something? Not to wish any ill on any company, but I'm just saying, like, that's a potent title.
Yeah. No, I totally buy that. Makes perfect sense. It's a good title to have on a day where that's the bigger story. Like, it's not real. The Sam sinking part isn't the biggest part of today's story. So.
Yeah. So that would leave. Do you feel like iPadding the numbers is an accurate representation of the
Yeah, it's accurate. It's accurate enough. I mean, we're not talking about faking the numbers, which it does give a little bit of that, tinge to it, but we're talking, it's a clever thing of like, oh, they're talking about iPad and the numbers. I get it.
You know, it's just that padding the numbers thing is like such a thing.
That's bugging you?
Yeah, it bugs me. They're not that like Apple knows where we are, but provided
I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the listener who's like, that didn't make sense.
Right. They're not padding the numbers, they're accurately representing the numbers.
Exactly. With that voice.
We love you all.
Except for the person who said that in that voice, which is not you, so that's fine.
That's fine.
Oh my gosh, BioCow. Just the face tip. I would like an Apple, because we did talk about iPads and apples. I would like that. I mean, we could go one bad apple. Because the iPad is the one bad apple, and not that it's bad, but it's the one bad piece of Apple news. Good. Too many cooks.
I like that one.
Too many cooks, not enough iPads. Cooking the iPad numbers. I feel like that was a TNT thing. We've gotten into overthink territory now.
Yeah.
Now nothing looks good.
Overthink territory.
How about Outlook is good with the intention of meaning like it's also good for certain tablet form factors? Now that's overthinking, but I'm going to use it. Or maybe I should put a question mark. That fixes everything.
They always do.
Actually, I like that. Outlook is good. That's like, I'm surprised that Outlook is good. Also, the Outlook is good for tablets.
I like that.
All right. You win.
Yeah.
Tinvec won no matter what. Anyway, so.
Oh, Tinvec won.
It's not a competition.
But it is about to be a sticker.
Please, no wagering. But do buy our stickers.
Those stickers are
so smart. Myke Hurley, I want to steal all his ideas. He's such a smart guy.
Yep.
Tim Cook's apple can spoil the whole bunch, girl. Yeah, I kind of like the simmer. Tim Cook puts it on simmer because the cook and the simmer and the, don't worry, the iPad will be back.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it. Zepcon's like, no, it's always a competition.
Huh?
Who is texting me like a mad person? Oh, it's my editor.
Too many. That's another day that's going to be in my head. There it is. That's what I like. Okay. I gotta do... I have to do show notes. What the show notes? Oh, I meant to say, I was distracted. Look what I got in the mail. I got.
Oh yeah, I got
DTNS
one
mug
yesterday. Let's
from
cheers.
Michael. Cheers.
Cheers. Gunk.
And then I also got. Did you also get this awesome mobile charger?
Yes, I did. Where'd
Look
I put
at
it?
that. Yeah. This is like one of my favorite things currently on the site.
Yeah.
So cool. And then so
DC in,
is this a mobile
USB
charger
out.
in that you charge it up with juice and then when you're in trouble you get to use it to boost you? That's so cool.
Anything that charges over USB.
Right.
That thing will charge. But yes, you do have to charge that up for it to work.
Yeah. I think you do actually there's a way to adapt the iPhone power thing to a mini USB. I think I've seen it in the stove.
There's a what?
There's a way to put a little converter on an Apple.
Oh, you just use your Apple cable. Your normal Apple cable is USB on one end. Goes right in there.
Is that Apple thing a mini USB? I'm confused.
What?
Oh no, I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I wasn't.
It's just USB where it goes into your laptop or into the charger.
Got it.
So it's the same thing.
Slick. So it's just the one half of the charger.
Yes, exactly.
I work in tech. And then this was super cool. My mom is gonna be so excited about this. The mouse pad.
That's the only one I'm not sure about yet.
She was my mom
really like my old mouse pad.
My mom was all on me because she was like, "You didn't bring me a mouse pad?" I was like, "No, I did not read your mind and know you needed a mouse pad." She was like, "Oh." And then literally I got home from the San Francisco trip and in the mail was a box from David Michael and it had a mouse pad in it. I was like, "This guy has read like my mom's mind." It was amazing.
So did you give her that one or are you going to give her that one?
Okay. I'm going to give it to her. She's on the road again. And so once I see her next, she's gonna get a cool mouse pad, so she'll actually know where to find the show.
Oh right, because it says so on the thing.
Yeah, I mean I can't bag on my mom's tech skills because she was definitely very computer savvy before I was like born id.
I don't know if I like having. I don't know. I like my old black mouse pad that didn't have anything written on it. Mm. This kind of distracts me because I'm like, what? There's words there.
Oh, it's my show.
It's not. It's just the fact that there's letters, big white.
I should get one of these for my dad too because he would really like it. I just think at a certain point, people like when they get to a certain age or when they were tech savvy in a certain age may not necessarily get the idea They get that there's lots of super cool stuff on the web and they're pretty savvy with it. They don't quite get that there's content, like storytelling on the web. That's where the disconnect is. It's like, I get that it's a thing where I can bank and do all this stuff and buy things, but I didn't know I could consume media on it. That's sort of this weird experience.
Really?
Yeah, well, it has to be like they're the age up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about 50
They don't read like the news?
Right, but text is one thing.
Oh,
right?
You're talking about video and audio.
Sure. You've got mail. Here is all the content.
I totally agree with you there.
Yeah.
It's
But
not about storytelling.
video-
You said storytelling,
Yeah,
which is what threw
sorry.
me off. But you're talking about like specifically video and audio. Yeah,
Video
a
and
lot of
audio.
people don't because they've grown up with dial-up,
Yeah.
or not grown up, but they've learned to use the internet through dial-up, and so video and audio are a rarity that don't often work. Especially like, oh, there's video from this Yahoo thing. Oh, it
Right.
doesn't play on my connection, and so it's like, oh yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah. And then that set the habit like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That's what I was saying.
Words there. I don't know. I really like the mug though. I agree that we need one with a different color on the inside.
Like next in the next 6 months we'll do multiple colors, right? So people who like red get the red one,
It's a
and then people who like blue get blue.
yeah. And people who like fuchsia get fuchsia. People who like
Fuchsia.
teal get teal.
Unused mug.
People who like auburn get auburn.
Yeah. But what I super like is the shape of it, which is maybe you can't quite see on the show, but it has a really nice tapered line. And I like that. And I really like the angle because like sometimes these things are not the
If you
mug
like
handles. are not
mauve. You can
but
get
it has a really
mauve.
nice, and the inside's super shiny and nice. All in all, a great mug.
5 stars. Would drink from it again.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? What other things?
You're turning it a QVC over there.
I know, right? I'm actually really good with it because I've got these weird hand things.
We also have this lovely year in tech history.
Look at that. I don't have one of those. I got to get one of those.
I should just order you one. I should order a bunch of people one.
Um,
Puce.
I'm quite a fan of the Scott Johnson art.
Yes. People seem to really like the art on the business cards. I'm glad.
It's so great. It's like, we have 2 business people doing the business things. I am a business person. I love it.
I'm business time. Business.
Yeah. President
Is it working?
Business. I'm co-executive producer.
Numbers.
of business.
Business. All right. I am out of the post. Let me check,
All
make
right.
sure this worked. Oh, I'm doing that thing again. I heard it.
Uh-oh.
People
Did
don't like
someone
it.
get on you for doing
People
that?
don't, buzz out loud days. All the way back to then, people are like, why do you do this? Between your words. So I try not to do it because then I listened and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of annoying. So apologies for that. Apologies, especially for just doing it 20 times in your ear.
You know what? Oh, now we get all the colors. Olive, chartreuse,
Chartreuse.
pork sausages.
A mauvey
What?
shade
Oh.
of pinky russet.
Oh.
All right, that is it for today. Adios, muchachos. Me quedarse en su casa. Levanta asiete.
And audio.